Yeah, you can, I've seen you perform. You can do well.
Still heading up there, hold on, please. I'll change the order of this.
Yeah, you can, I've seen.
There we go. Great, we're live streaming.
We are live.
And I will bring us back to our windows so I can find it. There we are.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see, and Lee has joined us. Excellent. Okay, so let's call this meeting to order. The Cultural Vitality Committee. It is 4:34 p.m. And I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land in which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as the Wadding. Wadding is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Councillor Spina, welcome to your very first meeting of the Cultural Vitality Committee.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you here. Do you know everyone that's part of our group that's here today? Okay, fantastic. All right, the next item on our agenda is to adopt the minutes of our last meeting, which were February 20th. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Nyla. Any changes, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor, approval of those minutes, that is carried. Anyone with a declaration of pecuniary interest on today's agenda? Seeing none, carry on. And for the adoption of our agenda today, looking for someone to move and second adoption of today's agenda. Thank you, Nyla, and thank you, Miranda. Any changes or additions? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of today's agenda, that is carried. All right, moving on, business arising. Alicia, the Community Recognition Award.
Okay, so we are now accepting nominations for the Community Recognition Award. The deadline is the last Friday in April at 4:30 p.m. To the email address csd@cityssm.on.ca. The Community Recognition Award is offered annually by the Corporation of the City of Sault Ste. Marie upon recommendation by the Cultural Vitality Committee for contributions to commitment in the field of culture. Every individual group or community organization may make one nomination of an individual group or organization each year, providing an excellent opportunity to reward local cultural achievement. So we look forward to seeing those come in and discuss them when we are able to do so.
Okay. Questions, anyone?
Sorry, yes, what's the criteria?
So it's it's having a moment now. It's
Sounds what, sorry.
contribution for culture.
For culture.
Culture and enrichment of community.
So do you have that in writing, obviously?
Okay.
Is that something you could share with the committee that then the committee would be able to share with their networks potentially to encourage people to think of who they might want to
Please.
Nominate?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sounds mine, so.
great. Any other questions about that? Or suggestions? No? All right. The 5.2, the Vivid Art Fest.
Okay, Vivid Art Fest. We are currently looking for volunteers to be part of the review panel for muralists and for public art submissions that will take place. The festival itself takes place September 19th, 20th, and 21st, 2025 here in Sault Ste. Marie. We'll be looking for any sort of adjudication that takes place will happen likely in May, June of this year. We're looking for a number of members from different parts of the community here, of course, as well. Also, I'll be circulating this information. You're welcome to share it with your networks. People are welcome to apply to be part of that committee. And further, we've done the call for artists for that group as well. And the deadline for that is April 14th at 4:30 p.m. Applications, there's an application form on the city website and it's on the banner, so it can be clicked upon and easy to find. I can circulate that information as well, but ultimately it comes directly to me and I help continue to support this festival.
Okay, so just for clarification, the Vivid Art Festival is what used to be Summer Moon, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then did you just say that to be part of the word you used is I lost it in my head, the judgment committee, if you will, or judging, you have to apply?
Yes.
Did I understand that? Okay, so that's open to anyone to apply?
Yes.
In the community, and this is information for this group to know that if you're interested in being part of that, you could apply to be part of the group to go through that.
That's true.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Questions, anyone? Further to that? I see none. All right. We're going to skip past item 5.3 because it's gonna take the longest of our items, and we just wanted to make sure that we covered some of these other things, so we're just gonna go past 5.3, we'll come back to it. So moving on to section 6 and 6.1. The public art task force required for the Pall Mall alley of this year.
We are looking for 2 volunteers from the Cultural Vitality Committee to sit upon the task force for public art with respect to the Pall Mall Alley for 2025. For those who may or may not know, the Pall Mall Alley is a physical location where we highlight 6 artists annually. We receive applications from the community. Anybody can submit. We review them at the panel essentially, and those who are selected receive a $600 honorarium or to display their art for the year.
Okay.
And so in doing so, that's pretty much it. The bulk of this work will likely take place in September, October.
Is anyone interested in volunteering as one of the people, Miranda and Nyla? Excellent.
Great. We need a resolution, but I have it if you're ready.
Now, is it only, so I saw Miranda first, then I saw Nyla, but Lee then did put up her hand right after Nyla. So is it 2 only?
It is 2 only at this
Okay.
time, but we actually have another one coming up that's happening sooner.
Okay.
We'll talk about these in tandem.
Okay,
So item 6.2, we're looking for a public art task force for the John Rhodes Community Center. We have a project with Sioux College ongoing, where we'll have submissions from the students in a graphic design program class. That will likely be going into the John Rhodes Community Center. That will likely take place at the end of April, probably to mid-May,
okay.
for the review of this art. So if that works better for someone's timeline, it's another way to be involved.
And so just to clarify for me, the Pall Mall task force, what's the timeline?
Probably October,
Oh, so it's the fall.
the fall this year.
Okay, and the John Rhodes is in April?
I would say
approximately.
Let's say May, June, just
Oh,
in
May,
case,
June.
but May, June.
Like completion in May, June?
I'm not sure what the installation timeline, but the review.
The
by
review.
city.
And is that one indoor? Sorry?
Yes.
Okay.
So now, how many people do we need for John Rhodes?
2 for each
Okay,
separately.
so. If we have more than 2 people want to be in either of these task force, then we have to vote.
Right.
So if we could. If we could work that out so that we could include everyone and we don't have to vote, that would be awesome. So, Lee, is there one or the other that you're more in particular interested in, or?
Both are of interest. I mean, both are busy times of year, so I don't think the time makes a big difference. The only thought around the Pall Mall is it's just very close to the store, and I walk by it 3 times a day, or 3 times a week, I should say, between Casey's
Right.
Music and taking my daughter to dance and that's the only reason why I'm leaning that way, but I'm also very happy to sit on the John Rhodes instead, if
Okay.
that's ideal.
Okay, Miranda?
Yeah, given all of that, I'd be happy to switch places with Lee and work on the road center call and let Lee have my spot on the Pall Mall alley.
Brad. Okay, so, would you be interested?
I
in
don't mind
participating?
sitting wherever, yep, whichever one
It's what
requires.
Well, it sounds like if we had Nyla and Lee for the Pall Mall, and we had Counselor Spina and Miranda
Yep,
for
sure,
John Rhodes.
Sure.
Would that work out for
Yep.
everyone?
works out.
Okay, excellent.
Great, so I think it's okay with you. I'll read the resolution and
Sure.
you carry it and do the process of,
I sure can.
unless you'd like to read it. Okay, so be it resolved that the following 2 volunteers be appointed to the Public Art Task Force, Pall Mall Alley 2025, until the end of December 31st, 2025. Nyla Moss and Lee Rendell.
And we can't do them in one resolution, is that right?
No, I think
Okay.
it's separate.
I can move.
Thank you. Counselor Spina will move, so I need a seconder for that. Thank you, Miranda. Excellent. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that resolution, that is carried. Thank you.
Okay, and then for item 6.2, be it resolved that the following 2 volunteers be appointed to the Public Art Task Force, John Rhodes Community Center 2025 until the end of December 31st, 2025. Miranda Bouchard and Counselor Sunny Smith.
Excellent. And I need someone to move. Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Nyla, to second. And any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. All right.
One more fun subcommittee. So Item 6.3, so some continuing work that was going on last year, we were looking at the Arts and Culture Assistance Program guidelines. We will be reviewing this committee, and we'd like to continue our work that we had started last year. We've lost a committee member in the turnover of committee this year, as part of the subcommittee who was involved in this. We would like to continue. Previously, Miranda was part of this group. We would love to have her back if she was interested. I got a thumbs up, that's great. We're looking for, this is an open subcommittee, so we're open to as many people as necessary. I'll be soliciting this group for information and for feedback throughout the process. Everyone is welcome to attend subcommittee meetings and contribute, but at the same time, if anybody had significant interest in leading and being part of this group, we're looking for another member to do that as well. So Miranda had put her name forward.
Thank you, Miranda.
You can be a policy nerd with us, please.
Yes, yes, yes. Does anyone else have an interest in participating in reviewing our the program? Thank you, Lee. Anyone else?
I don't know enough about it. But if you
Welcome,
need
you're
me-
welcome to attend. and
Right.
contribute.
Well,
Yeah, I would like to learn before
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd like to learn a little before
How-
I say I'm gonna.
How many people, it might be hard for you as well, Counselor Smina, just that you haven't gone through the process.
That's what I
So
mean.
for those of us who have now, I think we're at 4 or 5 times,
Right,
we really know.
I'd rather learn it.
But you, how many people? Oh, you said
It
it's
can be
not-
open, I think.
It's open.
It's
So-
open. I think I'd like to participate in that. So there'd be the 3 of us. And the 3, and of course, I'll open to others should there be. Okay,
Okay, and so I've got a resolution for this as well.
okay,
Okay, so be it resolved, the following volunteers be appointed to the Art and Culture Assistance Program Review Subcommittee until December 31st, 2025. Miranda Bouchard, Lee Rendell, and Chair Donna Hilsinger.
thank you. Moving Counselor Smina and someone to second, thank you, Nyla. Any further discussion? All in favor there, that is carried. All right, excellent. So there's nothing under new business there.
Can I add one under new business? I just have a thought that I'd like to throw. Could I think this is the group? I'm sorry.
I was gonna make a joke, but I don't.
I apologize to everyone. I often have ideas and I don't know where they fit until I know where they fit. And I think this one fits here, given the 2 public art task forces that we've come up with. So just as a bit of background, everybody knows we just finished and completed, almost completed the restructure of Queen Street. The one section of Queen Street. There is a section, and Leo, probably if you've walked by the Paul Mall, you'll be very familiar with this. There's a section right by the plaza and where Stone's Office Supply is, where they didn't have time to put in paving stones, so they just used asphalt to pave over like the boulevards there. And I think at this point in time, the intent is they're going to come back, rip all the asphalt out and put paving stones in. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to observe the art hub across the street that they've created. There's a lot of really cool artists in that space that are doing a lot of interesting things. What I'd love to be able to do is say, don't rip that asphalt out, leave it there and give each of those boulevards to a local artist once a year to paint a mural on it. Instead of ripping it out and putting asphalt in. I mean, it's gonna be more environmentally sound and then friendly and all that if we do that anyway. But I think it's a really cool way to highlight that, highlight first the plaza and that huge amount of local artists that are brewing at that art hub and around the surrounding area with all of the surrounding kind of stuff there.
I'm gonna look at you
Yeah.
for that, but or Virginia, I don't know who
Oh,
would.
Virginia's on. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Or
I
who
thought
could-
she was older.
No.
I'm here.
Who and how would we take this idea forward potentially?
and just-
Assuming there's no, not that it's us that would have to,
Right.
approve or whatever, but I'm not seeing anyone with any particular horror at the thought or like that would object to
Right.
an idea like this.
Right.
So with that in mind, how would we move Counselor Spina's idea forward?
And is this?
I'd have to reach out to engineering. I know that the contract was awarded and the work it's not just paving stones. There's also a series of planters that are being installed in that area to add trees and greenery so that we can do, add that, I think they're fairly large beds with trees planned to be planted in them. And there's at least 3 of them, if I remember from the original designs. That work is slated to start in, I think sometime in April, May, as soon as they can get on site to start doing that work. And that
So,
includes the remaining landscaping throughout that section of Queen that they weren't able to finish up last year.
so is that something that through you with Virginia, you guys
Maybe
could
we-
follow up on together?
Yeah.
Or are you saying, Virginia, you think it's a little bit too late for any changes?
I think it's probably too late for any changes. The contract is almost at completion for that section of the road. But I think there may be other opportunities for us to look at ways that we can highlight artists throughout the summer. So I do really like the idea of being able to highlight those artists.
Yeah.
And I think we can get really creative with how we could maybe incorporate that into that area. Yeah, I think there'd be a great way to be able to do that.
Meantime, I think something that we can commit to is I can do some research
Right.
and see if there are other examples from other municipalities that have been creative in this way,
Right.
and then bring it back for review.
Well, one of the things I immediately thought of was every year it's going to fade anyway with our sand and salt, right? It's going to fade.
Yes,
And then we're going to spray it again with a sealant, which covers it nice and black and gives you a beautiful new surface to completely cover it
Yes.
year after year after year. So I thought, my God, this would be just a perfect spot to highlight.
Well, and further to that, I don't know if even if Virginia knows the answer to this, but we've clearly seen that things like the Pride
Right.
Crosswalk. And hopefully we're able to add other types of
Right.
of interest in crosswalks or other ways. That do have to be repainted as well. I know that that's the city doing that as opposed to an artist doing that, but. You know, it can turn into a bit of a program at a certain time of the year to do that, so. Do you
Yeah.
have a question, Lee?
For 50.
Yeah, I just to integrate with that idea, I'm not sure where we're at with the contracts from a city standpoint as we progress down Queen, because I know they're scheduled to do each section. But that would be an interesting addition to integrate. And again, I don't know if it's too late or not. That's something that only Ally and Virginia can let us know, but having that concept integrated when we have these temporary spaces or we have just asphalt spaces, I like that.
Thank you, Miranda.
And to build on all of this again, just last night, a local artist was asking about the repairs on benches that are happening across the city and whether there is an artistic opportunity to add a little bit of flair, maybe some design to some of that repair work as well. So floating that idea also.
So can we leave that in
Maybe
your
yeah,
capable
maybe
hands?
three of us.
The
Yeah,
three of you?
Yeah,
And,
yes.
okay, excellent.
we don't need a motion for that, right?
No, I don't think so. This, at this point, it's just for information and research.
Perfect. And I apologize if this wasn't the right place to bring that out, but it felt like it was.
So that's great.
Yeah.
There is no correspondence, is that correct?
None that I have seen.
Okay, so we will now move back up to 5.3, the cultural forum. Report.
So we had a cultural forum on February 26th. Some members of the Cultural Vitality were able to be there, some were not. It was a great turnout. I'd say about 45 to 50 people in all. It was a bit of a come and go. It worked out quite well. It was nice. It was a great opportunity for people to meet and connect. A lot of really great positive feedback we got from just being in the same room together, which was nice. And so some of the questions, I want to say that we took the opportunity to present about the cultural plan to date. There was some good receptive conversation that happened around that as well. And moving forward, we also took the opportunity to put out boards for just gathering feedback and information. Some of the questions that we asked were, what should we prioritize when we're developing the next cultural plan? How can groups collaborate to create partnerships to grow the arts and culture sector? What role would you like to see the city play in supporting these initiatives? And a final third question, in your opinion, what are the greatest challenges that your organization faces and what types of supports do you need to overcome these challenges? Some of this was really, some of it was surprising, some of it less surprising. Overall, again, a lot of support, again, ongoing support from the arts and culture community in what we're doing, which is great. Lots of really interesting thoughts about diversity, including newcomers and heritage, encouraging vibrant culture, engaging youth. Some of those things we are kind of more aware of. Some things like more opportunities for networking, meeting, and gathering for the arts community. Again, they have some, and so what I can say, I said for the most part, is that it was successful, it was good. people would like to meet again and have it kind of be a more of an ongoing conversation. A couple times a year perhaps, or maybe even more depending on what the community says as time goes on. Most people, it seems like, are dealing with the same issues, consistently: succession planning, cohesion and collaboration, funding, it's always there. We were happy to be able to let the group know that we have increased funding this year for ACAP. That was well received, and we also discussed, in the presentation, the Tourism Development Fund and in-kind services and requests and how those can be made. And so we've had some follow-up conversations with different groups since then as well, which has been overall quite positive. But there's definitely more to come from this group moving forward. Like, continued engagement is pretty key here, is what I'm hearing. And so, and I'd be happy to share the details, the finer details on what we received with it as
Yeah.
well.
That's what I was gonna ask. Anyone with questions for Alicia about the forum? Was anyone here there? Lee was there and I was there, okay. Do you have questions for Alicia, or do you have comments about what you observed, or, go ahead, Lee.
My main question that I can recall at the moment, was on some of the interaction boards. I noticed some commentary to that effect, where there was some sort of talk about a STEAM center, where essentially STEAM being STEM with arts kind of lumped in the middle of it. And that was the first I'd heard of such a thing. And honestly, I was a little bit confused as to how arts fit into that. Yeah, and really it just gave more questions than anything else. And I noticed that other people, that was raising flags for them as well. So I don't know if that's under a purview, if that's just an idea that's been tossed around, or how that plays into anything. But that would be my only question that I have.
Was this something I presented? Like, is that?
It wasn't part of the presentation, it was integrated into the boards,
Okay.
the interaction boards. And it mentioned a STEAM center.
Yeah, Virginia, do you want to speak to that? I can, but I think you probably know it better than me.
Yeah, there was some research that was being done on a STEAM center. I don't have a ton of details on it, but it was something that was being looked at. So yeah, it was just very preliminary that they were investigating that type of facility.
Yeah, further to that, I will tell you that Travis Anderson was the lead, if my memory serves me correctly, because this is going back about 4 years, on that particular opportunity. And the idea was, because the community has been asking for many, many years for a place to develop or for like either live, work, or workspace for artists, but also this idea of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math is something that where communities are developing centers, especially for younger people, to connect, to collaborate. We all know the connection between math and music, as an example. So the idea was, could we just make a business case for the city or an entity to purchase a building or space where a center focused on science, technology, etc., could be created for the community to use. And that and I know Travis was working quite hard on that, and it might be good to, as a result of this question, is to go back and just get a sense of what happened with it, if it was something that at that time wasn't going to come together properly, or couldn't find a space, or I'm not sure where it went to. But that's how that came to be, where that came from. Anyone else with Nyla, do you have questions or comments about what you saw while you were there?
I would just echo the same statements of it seemed really well received. I think there's conversation happening in like the actual kind of like the program time when we were, I forget the name of the room, but when we were in the like water room, asking questions, and even people in the audience kind of like answering the questions where they had that expertise. But even beforehand, when we were going around to the boards and everything, seeing kind of who was putting what up and talking about it, yeah, and just being able to ask questions and see what everyone was up to was really valuable. As we all know, just being able to kind of like have a dedicated moment to talk to each other and see what everyone's up to, because there's so much going on all the time in our community. So I thought it was great, and I could see, you know, depending on who has the bandwidth to do how much, but it would be wonderful to meet more often with the, yeah, community arts. And I had seen this, I saw what Lee saw with the STEAM lab, and I also was kind of wondering, I guess, but I figured it was something coming up. But yeah, no, I thought the board questions were poignant, and I think that was obvious from the number of post-it notes that were on all of them. Like none of them were empty. So I thought it was great, and did a great job organizing it, Tally and her team who helped. So thank you.
Special thanks to Virginia for that, for sure.
Thank you, Virginia. All right, so can you share is that what you said? You'll share the details
Yeah.
there?
I will.
And then how do we intend to use those?
Well, for the conversation the other evening, just a couple weeks ago, it was more as a point to get people to start thinking about how we want to move forward with this next cultural plan. We do need a new cultural plan, as we're all aware. This is the last one expired at the end of 2024. And so for me, there are some pieces that, you know, that I wanted to take the temperature of the room more or less with this and see where it was. I'm happy to say that I wasn't much surprised in that, like, so it means that we have a good sense of what's happening in the community. That being said, these are still struggles that people are dealing with, so we know we need to put our efforts. And so I think it was just more about information sharing right now and to know what's coming up, so we can kind of determine how we want to move forward next.
Okay, so you'll share that with us,
Yes.
and we could perhaps come back to it in a further meeting in terms of how we move it forward, or what your recommendations or Virginia's, et cetera, are to move those items forward. You just mentioned about a new, having to update the cultural plan and getting those things in the works. All right, great. Anything further on the cultural forum? Okay, seeing nothing. We are now down to our next meeting is when?
I'm so sorry, I don't have that date for me, but it's
It
typically the third Wednesday in April.
Which would be I will tell you right
Sorry
now.
about
Okay,
The
April
16th.
Okay, so the next meeting is April 16th, and
Can we actually talk about that quickly though?
Of
Because
course.
what we have, ACAP for this session, the second
Yes.
intake is closing on March 28th at
Yes.
4:30.
yes,
Beyond that, we usually take a couple of days to consolidate the files, make sure they're in
Yeah.
place. I like to give you 2 weeks to review them. Do we think that we could look at moving this meeting into the following Wednesday, because we have Easter coming up and just timelines and things at that same moment? Would that be helpful for committee members to have a little bit more time at that moment, or less helpful? Do we want it sooner?
let's take the temperature of the room, Alicia,
Sorry.
and find out
I'm good.
how everybody's
I'm good either
feeling
way.
about Miranda.
I think it would be prudent to move it to the 23rd, giving us all a little more time to look at things and be prepared. Yeah, especially those of us who have been out of the process for a little while.
Right, okay,
It may give us some time to onboard as well, any other new members.
Yeah.
In addition, so that's
Yeah.
great. Sorry, continue.
yeah, no, that's okay. I'm okay on the 23rd, Counselor Spina, okay.
Okay.
Lee?
Just a clarifying question. So the final packages would be out to the committee on what date?
I'm hoping to have them out before, I think the date is the Friday before, if that's correct. I'm hoping to have.
Yes, it is, Fridays before.
I'm hoping to have them to you, to have them for a solid 2 weeks in time to review. I suspect this will be another big intake. It's great, so.
Yeah, I think as long as we have 2 weeks, I think that is. So if we need to push the meeting to have that full 2 weeks, I'd be fine with that.
Okay. Are you good with that, Nyla?
Yeah,
Any-
that actually would work for us. We have our STEM fair is just kind of like the weekend before, so and there'll be a lot, just happening in the Rotary. So for me, it'd be great to move it to the next week, just because we will have some other competing evening meetings. So that would be great, the 23rd.
So we'll get you will adjust the invitation
I
so
will.
that it changes to the date. So the next meeting will be April 23rd. And a reminder, as Alicia already said, that the late intake or of the Arts and Culture Assistance Program applications. They are due by March 28th at 4:30 PM for anybody who may be listening. And again, to be shared with your networks if you know folks who want to apply.
I will develop an email with all of the information that we talked about that can be dispersed today to make it easy for people to copy and paste, so it won't be coming in multiple formats.
Sure.
And I'll share it to everybody.
Okay.
Cool.
So if there's Lee,
Just one other request more for Ally than anything else, and I don't know if this makes things easier, but that would be the intent. Is it required that you have to send PDFs? Could we not do this via Google Drive? Like, I feel like 2025, we have some easier tools at our disposal than sending multiple emails with PDF attachments.
I agree.
we'll back up. Are you talking about the applications?
The completed applications. So previously, Ally would have to attach individual PDFs, but only a few, because otherwise it maxes the email size out. And so send like 5, 6, 7 emails with all of the applications to review. And I'm saying, why can't we just dump everything into a Google Drive and have that shared to committee
Google Drive,
members?
Yes, especially, I think in the past, we've avoided the Google Drive because often I will have the files ready to go for you to review, but not for distribution. I then redact them. I try and do them at the same time, but depending on what our timeline is and how big and the packages tend to be, and if we've got any technical issues, I don't want to put them on a Google Drive outside of here, any sensitive information. But I was gonna say that with using the Outlook that we have, and it can be problematic and gives people issues with permissions. And then it's a whole problem, like
Well,
it's going back into the system and rejigging it, it's wild.
Could we not can we not fix that problem?
I would like to, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do so with the launch of the new website. I'm hoping the city's new website, when that comes, that this will change after this intake.
So just for clarity and not to get too in the weeds on the technical side, Virginia, if you can help us here at all, but I don't know what the website has to do with sharing documents.
I'm wondering if board manager might allow us to do it like you used for council packages with logins. I don't know though. I'd have to check with Madison to see
We can look
if
at
that's an option.
He's right.
But the relevance of the website to this is that potentially they will have packages that, there will be forms built into the website that will allow for submission, and then taking it out should be easier too. So in terms of the PDFs, they are not good.
Right.
I would like them to be different also, but I also can't get them to put a Google Drive link
No,
or anything on the city website.
No, for understandingly, there are rules that the city has to work within in terms of security on documentation, so that's in their purview, but I have found, but I also understand that it can be the whole permission thing and getting the invited whatever for using Outlook and those shared files, but you know, maybe between you all, you can figure out how somebody could support it working better.
Dear Frank Cochimilio.
I say,
I think I just wanted to bring up that I would be open to amending what we're doing if it would be easier and allowed. I don't think we have to do things the same way just because they've always been done that way.
I completely
Is
agree.
I guess what I'm trying to bring forward.
I completely agree. I'm very, very much interested in looking at new options. I think with this intake, I think we might stay with where we were just for ease of use at this point, but because it's all going to be changing very soon with the ACAP guideline review and the other processes, I'm very much hoping that we can find a different way to move forward with this application process.
Lee, that's very 2025 of you to not want to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I appreciate that. I have no idea.
I will let you know, however, if you request a paper copy, I am required to give you one. So
Oh,
if you would like that.
no, I will not. No, I'm fine to deal with.
Okay.
Do you have
Okay,
to accept faxed applications as well, Ally?
I do not. Doctor's office.
yes. Okay, so if we have nothing further, we are going to adjourn. I need a mover and seconder. Miranda, thank you. Counselor Spina, thank you. So be it resolved that this committee now adjourn. All in favor? That is carried. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much. See you on April 23rd. Try and get here in person if you can. Ciao.
Order some good weather. We'll make it happen.
All right, girlfriend.